Welcome to the AT Parenting Survival Podcast, where you get help and guidance through the chaos of parenting a child with anxiety or OCD. This show is for educational purposes and is not intended to replace the guidance of a qualified professional. Here's your host, child therapist, Natasha Daniels.
Well, hello there, and welcome to another episode of the AT Parenting Survival Podcast. Today I want to talk to you about a game changer for parents raising kids with anxiety or OCD. It's so important that we tap into the resources that help guide us and support us so we can effectively help our kids, because it's not intuitive. How we approach anxiety, and especially OCD, is often counterintuitive. So what your mama or dada gut is telling you is often wrong. And that's hard when the mind and the body, the heart and the mind, are in disagreement. And that's why you have to have evidence-based resources to really help guide you on how you're supposed to respond to anxiety and OCD, how you're supposed to support your child with anxiety or OCD, what you're supposed to do, what your role is in supporting them. We're going to talk all about that today. But before I jump in, I do want to thank NoCD for sponsoring this episode. NoCD offers affordable, effective, convenient therapy, and they are available in the U.S. and outside the U.S. You can schedule your free 15-minute consultation to see if NoCD is a right fit for you and your child. Just go to treatmyocd.com. That is treatmyocd.com. I'll leave a link in the show notes as well. All right, so I want to talk to you about a game changer. And this is a resource that a lot of people surprisingly don't know that I offer. I guess maybe I offer a lot of things. So maybe it's confusing because I do this podcast. I have a YouTube channel for kids, teens, and young adults directly. I have an online school with a bunch of courses that you can buy to get all those skills that you need. And I have the AT Parenting community. And the AT Parenting community was created back in 2019 to address 3 areas where parents really struggle. And think about where you struggle. And it doesn't have to be just one category, but these are the 3 that I've seen consistently across the board in my 2 decades of helping parents raising kids with anxiety and OCD. These are the 3 areas that impact long-term progress because they're barriers. The first one is isolation. Isolation for you and isolation for your child, teen, or young adult. Isolation is the death of progress, because when we feel like we're all alone in this, when we feel like everybody is just going on with their life and no one else is having a hard time getting their kid to school, or their child's graduating and not having a problem, or their child is eating without an issue, whatever it is for you, it can create hopelessness. In our kids, it can exacerbate shame and embarrassment that they have these struggles. It can make them feel hopeless, unmotivated, and paralyzed. And so the whole family can get trapped in this paralysis because they don't know what to do. They feel like they're the only ones going through this. And that hopelessness can really turn into a depressive state for the entire family. So isolation is really dangerous in what it can do to long-term progress. So that is the first area that I see parents struggling. Often parents will say, I've just never met anyone else who gets this. Or kids will say, I don't even think this is OCD because I've never heard this theme before. And so they don't even buy into approaches or skills because they feel so isolated. They're like, this isn't even OCD. I don't know what you're talking about. So isolation is a really big one. The second category is education. Like I said before, approaching anxiety and OCD, and especially OCD, is counterintuitive. And unfortunately, we have to be our own resource for understanding and knowledge around anxiety and OCD, because 99% of therapists are not trained in OCD. Now, that's just a random number. I'm just making that up, but it's high. I don't know. They should do research on that because it is high. Finding a trained therapist in OCD is like finding a unicorn in a haystack. Let's add both metaphors to that. And so if you're not educated enough to be able to spot an effective, well-trained OCD therapist, then you're going to get your child into the wrong therapy with the wrong therapist, which can do a lot of damage. So that's one piece of education. The second really important piece is, even if you are seeing a therapist, which a lot of people have barriers to therapy in general, but even if you are seeing a therapist, you are with your child 24/7. Whether it's a child, a teen, or a young adult living at home, you are with them 24/7. And you are, as a parent, we are naturally entangled with their anxiety and OCD. And so it doesn't live in its own bubble. It wants things from us. How we respond is important. How we create our home is important. And so understanding how to set up a therapeutic home environment, what does that look like? Even if your child, teen, or young adult has their foot firmly on the brake and they're like, I do not want any help. I don't recognize this as anxiety or OCD, or I just want to live in my room. A lot of us have that scenario going on. Even if that is happening, your education and your understanding of how this is showing up clinically, the approaches that you would take, and what you do is really important. Your mindset, right? That's under education too. How do I survive this when I have a child who's refusing to go to school or has graduated and isn't doing anything and is living in their room? How do I, as a family member, take care of my own mental health and navigate this when I don't have a lot of control? That's education too. So education's a big piece. And especially with OCD, the way that you approach OCD is very counterintuitive. I've mentioned that quite a few times already because it's so counterintuitive. Everything in your gut for anxiety and OCD is going to say, let me enable the anxiety and OCD. They're distressed. Let me go solve this for them. And with both anxiety and OCD, that's a slippery slope that quickly gets the disorder much worse. And if you don't understand how to navigate that one small step at a time, you're going to be inadvertently growing it and creating a bigger long-term problem. So that's the step. That's the second struggle with families is education. They just don't know what they don't know. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. Unfortunately, there's a lot of therapists out there who think they can treat OCD because they think it's an anxiety disorder. Spoiler alert, it's not categorized as an anxiety disorder at all anymore in the DSM because it's not an anxiety disorder. It creates anxiety. They are co-occurring conditions. But OCD is more about the circuitry in the basal ganglia, in the prefrontal cortex. And yeah, the amygdala doesn't like it and gets upset, but it's a different part of the brain. It shows up in a different way, and how we treat it is actually different. I'm not going to reframe cognitive distortions. I'm not going to problem solve. I'm not going to do all the things that I would do with anxiety because that just grows OCD bigger. And if I don't understand that, and I'm seeing a therapist who doesn't understand that because I didn't understand that the therapist didn't understand that, now we are in quicksand and we're drowning pretty fast. That could be eradicated with knowledge, quick knowledge. So that's education. The third and final area, but this is not an exhaustive list. You might have something else. But the other one is access to evidence-based guidance. And so parents don't often have someone on tap that has the expertise and the understanding, the clinical understanding of how to treat anxiety and OCD. Anxiety, you might have an anxiety therapist. In anxiety, you don't get messed up as much with anxiety because most general practitioners in the mental health field can handle anxiety. And you can do different therapeutic approaches with anxiety and you might see great results. I personally love cognitive behavioral therapy. That's kind of my go-to approach, but people can make progress in anxiety in lots of different therapeutic modalities. You're not going to break somebody when you're doing other things. OCD, totally different. OCD is a completely different beast. Yes, you can make someone's OCD 10 times worse if you're just going to do cognitive behavioral therapy without that specialization of ERP, exposure response prevention. And like I said before, the gross majority, I don't know why I said gross, but the majority of therapists are not trained in ERP, have never heard of ERP. And that is the go-to approach for pediatric and adolescent OCD. And so that's really important that we understand and have access to somebody who understands the clinically sound approaches. And so most people don't. I mean, if you have an OCD therapist, it's golden because now you have somebody, but you may not even have them on tap. And so you might have to wait, a whole week before you can talk to them again. Some of you live in countries where the therapist just does not talk to you. I feel like that's more the norm in Canada and Australia, and even a little bit in the UK. Not as much in the United States, where you have therapists that just, due to confidentiality, just will not talk to you at all. I do not get that. It doesn't make any sense to me. It's like treating the arm without recognizing that it's attached to a body. And hopefully that will change over time as people get more educated in the mental health field. But you may not, even if your child is seeing a therapist, you may not have access to them to get your own support and to understand what you need to be doing. So those are the 3 areas that I see parents struggling the most: isolation, education, and access to evidence-based guidance. So I want to go through each one and talk about how I fill in the gaps for you. Because even though this can seem overwhelming and hopeless, I've created a way to fill in the gap, regardless of which category you're struggling with, or if you're struggling with all 3. There is an easy solution. And that was my goal when I created the AT parenting community back in 2019, is I wanted to have a stopgap. I wanted to be able to help parents regardless of where their gap was. If they had all 3 of those gaps, this would be the glue. If they were just having an isolation gap, this would be the glue. And that was my hope. So I'm going to go through them and kind of talk about what you can find and what you can find as support. So people typically join the AT parenting community for a couple of different reasons. One is a very common one. The therapist recommends it as a supplement. That is the highest compliment to me that we're doing something right, because so many parents are coming because their therapist recommended it. Their mental health therapists and even OTs and PTs and eating disorder therapists, so many different therapists around the world refer their families for this guidance because they want the families to be supported. They want that supplement to fill in that gap, because a therapist can't do everything. And it can't connect you to community. It can't, give you support on tap. And so we get a lot of therapist recommended referrals. The second reason why people join is they can't access care. And so they stumble upon me through this podcast or YouTube or on Instagram, and they're desperate. It's like they just want to drink knowledge from a hose. They just want that support. And there is an access to care issue. And that could be because they are on waiting lists. It could be that because they live in a country or in a city where there are no OCD specialists. That's super common. It could be that there is a cost prohibitive barrier. Therapy's expensive. I have 2 kids in therapy, and if they're both having sessions in 1 week, that's $440. That's a lot. If you times that by 4, if they both had therapy every week. My daughter currently is getting every other week, so there's a little bit of a reprieve. But there was a time where my son needed more than once a week. And so families can't afford that, especially as the economy is tanking, unfortunately. It's going to get harder and harder. We're going to have to make cutbacks, and therapy is one of them, unfortunately. And I've seen people charge, their therapists are very reasonable. I don't mind spending $220 a session, even though that is so much. I've seen therapists charge $350, $400 for a session, depending on where you live. And if you live in the UK, CAMS isn't going to help you. They're doing better. They're starting to get some programs for OCD, but the wait lists are long, and there's only one little program that I know of. And you're going to have to go into private, and private insurance is really expensive. And you're kind of in our realm. We're paying $200, $300, $400 for a session. So a lot of people don't have that option. And the other thing is sometimes the kids refuse to go. So even if the moon and the sun aligned and you were able to afford it and you were able to find an OCD therapist that can see a child or a teen, because that's a barrier too. The last barrier is your child. Your child doesn't want to go, or they won't talk, or they don't want to engage. And you can't force progress. You can't force your child in therapy and then the therapist sprinkles magic fairy dust and they get better. It doesn't work that way. And so that may be off the table. That's not an option. And so people join the community because they want to know what they can do as parents. Even if their child's not willing or able to go, they want to know how to create a therapeutic home environment. They want to meet other parents. They want the support, all of those things. And eventually, sometimes we move that dial. Sometimes they're not ready for therapy, but they are ready for the ability to just listen to a support group call, or they're willing to watch a video. And so I work with the parent on, let me give you the best videos for your child to watch, because there's this little window, this little opportunity for them to be incentivized to watch a video and gain knowledge. Let's make sure those videos really speak to their particular OCD theme. And so that's something that we do in the community is I will give them a list of very specific videos once I know what's going on with their child, so that when the child, is willing to watch a video but not happy about it, the video that they do watch is going to be like, whoa, that's like exactly what I have. We want that. We want that, whoa, I'm not alone, impact right away. So that's another reason why people join.
It's time we put help directly in our kids' hands. Introducing Crushing OCD course for kids and teens.
It was way more helpful than all the other therapy we've ever done because we didn't really know what to do. So we weren't really doing it before. So the course helped to figure out what the exposures are and how to do them.
We're not in therapy and find it really hard to find an ERP trained therapist here. So we're currently with the public health service, but again, they don't seem to be trained in ERP. It's filled that gap that we don't have that was needed.
This was really well timed for us to use between therapists and to help us get off to a good start with this new practice.
It was easy to use. I was able to do it from my phone or also on the computer.
There's different ages, so there were younger kids, there were teenagers, and so that was really nice too, to have a variety of ages where it wasn't just geared towards younger kids or older kids. It was a nice variety.
It's helpful for our kids to hear it from this third party as opposed to just us saying it.
I really like the offense and defense method. I love working on poking at OCD while it's sleeping. It makes it a little bit easier to do, and it's kind of fun. I'm planning on using it to work on my fear of holding or touching batteries and stuff like that.
So it was really helpful, and I think a lot of other kids would like it. I thought that I was the only one who had worrying about the weather and stuff. And then there was somebody else on there who worried about the same thing, which was really helpful.
Seems less scary to work on stuff now that I've watched this class, and I'm more interested to work on it.
I like trying to do more exposures still, and before I wasn't, I just didn't want to do them.
I've worked on some of my bigger compulsions and been successful.
I realized that it was helpful to do the exposures. Before it was really, really hard. It's still hard, but it's helpful to know that I need to do them.
Before there would be a lot of battles about it, so it is definitely less loggerheads.
Really, really good course and super helpful.
Definitely would recommend this. It's really easy to follow. It's nice bite-sized videos. I really like the worksheets that go along with it, and I think it's really helpful.
To learn more about this course and register your child or teen, go to atparentingsurvivalschool.com.
The last reason, and there's also lots of other reasons, but I'm just listing, the main one, is that people want one element of the community. And so a lot of times people will join because they just want a support group call for their kids or teens. I am in a OCD Facebook group, and people will they'll advertise their resources. And often I'll see kid support group calls and teen support group calls, and they're $45 a call. And they're Zoom calls. And I'm thinking, AT Parenting Community is $30. And the support group call is one small, tiny component of this huge beast of resources that you get. And so there are parents who are like, it's worth it just for the support group call. Most of the time, their kids join the support group call and then they fall in love with the community. They didn't join for the community, but they stay for the community. And so that's another reason. So let's talk about the different areas and how that glue helps. So isolation. Well, there are over 1,000 parents. Typically, we kind of go a little over 1,000. So normally it's between 900 and 1,300 parents at any given time. A lot of times parents start really seeing progress 2 or 3 months into the community once they've really absorbed all the information and knowledge and connected with people. And when they start to really make progress, a lot of times they might pause or come back or leave because they're doing so well. And so we have people, new members coming in and really successful members going out. And there's a variety of ages. So we have people who are raising preschoolers and they've just got diagnosed and they're dealing with anxiety or OCD, or they haven't been diagnosed, but they clearly know there's a problem, all the way up to adults. If you are a parent of an adult child, we have a lot of those as well. So we have people who are not only just teens, but we have people who have kids in their 20s, mid-20s. We have quite a few members who have mid-20s, but their young adult is living at home. Or there's sometimes parents who are trying to support their teenager or their young adult from afar because they're in college. And so lots of different age ranges, which I love. And a variety of issues. A lot of people have co-occurring issues, such as ADHD, right? We've got anxiety and OCD, obviously, but we've got kids with ARFID, kids who are autistic, kids with PDA, kids with depression, eating disorders. As long as they have anxiety or OCD, our community is for you. The co-occurring conditions, everybody's got alphabet soup. You know, it's very rare that you're just living in one bubble. Body-focused repetitive behaviors like picking and pulling, hoarding, these are all really common co-occurring conditions, and there are things that we deal with in our community. So parents instantly don't feel isolated because there are ways to connect. We have a member-only Facebook group. You do not need to be on Facebook in order to be part of the community. It's just something that we offer for people who are already on Facebook and they like that. I am seeing a move away from Facebook in general from people. And so we recently got an app for the community. It's on the Mighty Network, which is a platform. And I'm loving the app because the app is instant parent connection. It's our own space in the world on your phone that is not dependent on Facebook. It's private and confidential. And on the app, you can actually see members and you can see who's near you if you want. If you don't want people to see your location, you can turn off your location, but people can see who is near them. And so that's a great way to connect and say, oh my gosh, this is someone who is in Scotland as well, or this is someone who's in Texas as well. So you can, and it orders members in proximity of how close they are. You can see which members have kids the same age who have anxiety and OCD. In the profile, it'll say, I have a child between 14 and 15. And the AI of the app will also summarize when you click on a profile what you have in common with that member. So it might say, hey, you both are dealing with social anxiety, or your kids both have contamination OCD. And so that's a great way to instantly connect. And you can hit the chat button and instantly try it and chat with them, which is awesome. And so that is another way to connect. We do have a parent connection program, which is a formal program. Like you fill out a Google Doc and then you can see other parents who want to connect, who are desperate to connect with another parent. We also have a buddy program, which is the same thing but for kids. And so you fill in the Google Doc form and then you get access to a spreadsheet and you pick somebody to reach out to who is wanting a buddy for their kids. We also have weekly classes where members jump on Zoom. And so that's a nice instant connection that you see other members, you hear other people asking questions. We have a monthly support group. So our support group is different than our class because I'm not teaching. It's just a full hour of parents connecting with other parents, asking questions. We have parents who are educated in all areas. We have doctors in our community, dietitians in our community, PTs and OTs, and all sorts of just people in the school system. And so they all bring their own expertise in those calls. and have great suggestions for members. Kids are isolated too, and so we do have things for our kids. We've got the buddy program, like I mentioned, and some kids have made best friends through our buddy program, which is awesome to hear. And we have a kid and teen support group call once a month. And there are some kids and teens who have been on those calls for years. I've watched them grow up. They are super educated and knowledgeable, and they offer really good clinically sound advice to other kids. It's a great way to normalize and validate people's struggles. And I moderate them. So I make sure that they're clinically sound and that it's a helpful therapeutic environment. The other thing that we do, if a child is feeling overwhelmed or hopeless, I will mail them out a hope package. Like I'll write them a little note. I'll send them a little gift, like a little bracelet or a little keychain or something I send them some stickers, things that will help them realize that they're not alone and that we're here to support them. So we do a lot of really cool creative things in the community. I will say that most parents don't tap into everything we offer. That's just one section. I haven't even gotten into the other two sections. And even if a parent only connects with one or two things that I just mentioned, there's so much value in that. So much value. So going on to the next category, your education is huge. If you don't understand what you're looking at and you don't understand how to spot new OCD themes or new anxiety themes, then your child is going to get worse and you're not even going to be aware. And so education is key. You do get access to over $500 worth of my online courses from my school, AT Parenting Survival School, and they're housed directly in the community. And so you can take the courses on the app. You could take the courses on the website. You don't have to log into my school or deal with my school at all. It's completely separate. We have uploaded those courses in your dashboard or on the member app, so you don't even have to bother. It's a one-stop shop, and you're not even shopping because it's free. So you have access to that. You also have access to the library of every class I've ever done. So that's massive, hundreds and hundreds of classes. And we have a search button, so you can just be like, I want to know everything about contamination. And all the resources will pop up on the website. We also have weekly live classes, and so you guys decide what I talk about. We normally have a poll, and I will teach the thing that you guys need the most. And so those happen every week, except for the weeks where we're doing the support group calls. And then I even have videos and worksheets that I created just for the community. So they're not on YouTube. They're nowhere. They're not in my courses. They're things I just created for the community. All right, the last section is getting evidence-based guidance on tap. So there are lots of ways to get support instantaneously. On the member website, we have forums, which is really, it's kind of like Reddit, but you're only talking to me. Initially, I had envisioned that it would be for all members, but it seemed that members really like to talk on Facebook. And in the forums, once I answered a question, nobody else responded because they're like, Natasha already answered, so why should I pipe in? And so the forums turn into something where it's just a direct line to me. And that has been really cool because you can start a conversation with me and then we keep the same thread and it's only your thread. And we have this history of conversations, and you have to log into the member website. So it's private, or you can message me. Some people don't post on the public forum. They actually message me in the forums. Nobody can see that except us. And then I can go back. You can ask me a question. I can go back and review all of our conversations. So I know that I'm giving you advice that I haven't given you before. And I know the history of what we talked about. And so the forums are really helpful. Now that we have the app, it's even easier to reach out to me because you can message me on the app. And then we can kind of almost have a chat, which I like better because it's instantaneous. So if it's in the middle of day where I am and you're messaging me, it's very possible that we're having a live conversation where you're saying like, I'm having trouble with getting him to eat. And I'm saying, well, tell me what's going on. And we're having this ongoing conversation. So you literally have an anxiety and OCD therapist like legit on tap because you have that kind of access to me. I'm trying to be good with boundaries. So maybe on the weekend, you won't have that access. But sometimes when I'm just sitting there and I see a message come through, I'll still answer it. But that's not a guarantee. But Monday through Friday during business hours, It's literally my full-time job. So there's that support. I am really good about answering anyway, but you can't expect that. The other thing is you can talk to other parents. And so in the app, there's a feed for parents, or you go on Facebook and people are quick to respond, give you advice, tell you what they've done, tell you their experience. And when you're dealing with 1,000 parents, there's a lot of great experiences out there that can really help. Currently, the app is brand new. So we only have, as of this recording, but this recording is actually, it's going to come out a month later. So it will be different. But we currently, because we just released the app, we have about 250 members on the app. We have about 900 members in Facebook, and we have about 1,000 members in general. So some members don't even want to participate in these things. They're just wanting the support group call or the classes. But that will grow over time. We're trying to get everybody over to the app so that you can get supported. The other cool thing is if you're feeling like you're struggling, you join a support group call and you just ask parents, like, I'm having this struggle, and you can see them and talk to them. And so that's really helpful. So that is a quick snapshot of the AT parenting community. We do keep the doors closed unless you have a therapist referral, because it is very disruptive when we have new members coming in all the time. When we have planned times where we open it, which is typically 3 times a year. I'm trying to think if it's 3 or 4 times a year. It's quarterly, so I think it's 4 times a year. Then we are all prepared as members. We are all prepared. We know we're getting new members. I do a new member Zoom call where I get to greet you. We spend time, seasoned members who have been around a long time spend extra time guiding people and letting them know how to use the resources and welcoming them. And if we had people dripping in all the time, you'd lose that. And then it would be overwhelming for me, because when people first join, they want my one-on-one support. And so I am normally carving out special time for the next few weeks after we open the doors so that I have extra time available for that overflow of people that are going to want that direct support and guidance. So we do only open 4 times a year unless our wait list is really big, and then we open up in between. But it is open right now, but the doors do close on Thursday. So May 15th, 2025, if you're listening. If you're listening to this at a different time and it is closed, get on the wait list or ask your therapist to email us with a referral and we will let you in. We do that because sometimes people are in crisis, and if a therapist is really wanting someone to get that support, we will make an exception, but it's open right now. So you can join at atparentingcommunity.com. If you're listening to this at a different time, if you go to atparentingcommunity.com and it says waitlist, just add your name and you'll be the first to know when it opens back up. So we close Thursday night, May 15th at 10 p.m. Pacific. And we are really solid with that because it's only fair to other people. And so it's a pretty firm, when the doors are closed, the waitlist button goes back up and we focus our energy on the people that are inside. So I hope that is you as well. And like I said before, people join because it's less than a copay per month to have literally that support on tap. But people stay. They stay for years. I mean, we have people who are founding members. We have people who have been there since 2019. And people stay because they like the security. And for $30 a month, they're like, just to know that if I hit a bump, I could literally text Natasha, or I can literally jump into the community and have all these people support me, is worth it. Or they make really great friendships and connections and they enjoy the community, and so they don't want to leave. Or their kids love the support group, and even if they're doing well, they love to help other people. That's very therapeutic. And so we find that people join for very specific reasons, and they stay because they find that the warmth and the community and that guarantee, that insurance that there's help on tap and that they don't have to worry, right? They hit a bump, their child's struggling all of a sudden, and anxiety and OCD can hit you like boom, all of a sudden you're back to square one and you've got the built-in community support right there. It's like an insurance policy. So I hope that you'll be joining us. Check it out at atparentingcommunity.com, and I'll see you over there. I'll get to know you really well in the community if you're active, and we can take this what you get from the podcast and supercharge it. Well, I hope that you find the sparkle in everything you do, and I'll talk to you next Tuesday. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the AT Parenting Survival Podcast. To get additional support raising a child with anxiety or OCD, visit Natasha's online school of on-demand classes at atparentingsurvivalschool.com.